I just wanted to put an end to it. I do not associate with David by any means. I'm an actor. I literally have nothing to do with him. I did it for a job. I did it for a check. I didn't know who David was. I don't follow him on Instagram anymore. I'm going to remove him as a follower. And I think that he deserves even more than what's happening to him right now. He's a monster, and I do not associate with him by any means.
People connected to David's circle are scrambling right now, trying to distance themselves fast and loud. Some of them acting shocked, even though they were around when things went down. And now even people in his own family are speaking out and calling for the harshest punishment possible. That shift is wild to watch, especially when you think about who stayed quiet before. And the Justice for Celeste coalition? They've been applying non-stop pressure on anyone even loosely tied to David, pushing hard and not letting up for a second. That pressure got so intense that even an actress from David's One More Dance video ended up catching heat. And here's the thing, her connection is super thin. She just appeared in the video, and at one point they followed each other on Instagram. That's literally it! Still, people came at her so aggressively that she had to jump on social media to explain herself and clear her name. Now, it gets tricky, because it's hard to tell what her real intention is. Maybe she truly wants people to know she has zero connection to what happened to Celeste, and she's just trying to protect herself. Or maybe this is about grabbing attention and staying in the spotlight when things are heated. It could go either way, and there's no clear answer right now. Because, at the end of the day, if she was just someone who appeared in a video years ago when David was younger, then the situation becomes a lot more complicated than people are making it seem. She really has nothing to do with the Celeste situation at all, and anyone trying to force that connection is way off base. It's getting out of control at this point because blaming someone for just appearing in a music video years ago makes no sense. At the same time, it does make you wonder how far people are going, because getting flooded with hate messages over something that small sounds extreme. Maybe there are people moving like that, but it still feels excessive. Quick correction though, that wasn't even the actress from the One More Dance video. That was someone from a completely different video David did a while back. Now, the actual actress from One More Dance, she did speak up, and she didn't hold back at all when she posted on her Instagram story.
I don't associate with David by any means. David Burke, I don't associate with you.
In that video, David cast someone who many people believe looked very similar to Celeste, same kind of features. Curly hair, lighter skin tone, and that raised a lot of eyebrows. A lot of viewers started connecting dots, thinking that casting choice wasn't random and that it carried a deeper, more disturbing meaning. Then her statement dropped, and it hit hard. She wrote, "I'm so disgusted and saddened about the evil done to Celeste Rivas Hernandez. She was the age I was when I was also groomed, by a musician. I hate that I was used in that disgusting man's little sick game. I hate everyone, especially Interscope." That message added a whole new layer to the situation and made things even more intense. And when it comes to Interscope, they've been moving fast and making it very clear they are doing everything they can to separate themselves from David ever since his arrest. They wiped David completely off their website like he never existed. His name is gone, no artist page, no trace, nothing. But here's where things get shady. It's still not clear what that actually means. Is he independent now? Did they quietly let him out of his deal? Or are they just trying to avoid the backlash while still keeping control behind the scenes? Because, let's be real, this is how record labels move sometimes. They'll play that polished PR game, remove you from public view, stop promoting you, act like they've cut ties, but behind closed doors, the contract is still locked in tight. You become too controversial to show off, but somehow not too controversial for them to keep collecting money off your work. And that's the part that raises eyebrows. On one side, they're trying to make it seem like they want nothing to do with him, like his name is bad for their image. But on the other side, they're still benefiting from every stream, every download, every spike in attention. And right now, with everything happening, those numbers are going up, which means more money flowing in. So it starts to feel less like a real stand and more like a calculated move. If they truly wanted to separate themselves, then take it all the way. end the deal, cut the ties completely, and stop profiting off the situation. Because scrubbing a website is one thing, but real action hits different. If he's only being removed from the website, but the label is still running everything behind the scenes, his brand, his business, his whole setup, then that raises a serious question. Because at that point, they're not really stepping away, they're just hiding it. And if they're still helping maintain his reach and influence, then it's fair to ask how much responsibility they carry in all of this too. The Justice for Celeste Coalition sees right through that move. They know the streams are still generating money, both for David and for the label, and that hasn't slowed down at all. So now they're pushing things even further by starting a petition aimed at Spotify and other streaming platforms, demanding that his music be taken down completely because of his actions. We've seen something similar play out before. When Spotify tried removing XXXTentacion's catalog, there was major backlash, and artists like Kendrick Lamar spoke up, saying the move wasn't right. But that situation had ongoing legal questions, and there was still a process playing out at the time. Here, people are arguing it feels different. There's a stronger belief among critics that the situation is already clear enough to take action now.
So essentially what you have now is more people having the ability to discover David, discover his music, and there might be like a 1% of sickos who actually might become David fans because of this.
That's why the calls are getting louder. Remove the music, stop the streams, and cut off the revenue. The idea is simple. If the platform stays up, the money keeps flowing, and that's exactly what many people are trying to stop. The situation is being described in the strongest possible terms, and emotions are clearly running high around this case. The petition itself doesn't hold back either. It comes in direct and serious. It says, as advocates against violence and abuse in the music industry, we at Industry Hackout are calling on music streaming platforms and industry stakeholders to remove all music by the artist David from their catalogs. Then it lays it out clearly. David, whose legal name is David Anthony Burke, has been charged with first-degree murder with special circumstances, and it continues by detailing the allegations tied to the case. They don't stop there either. The petition expands the conversation, saying, Celeste's case is not isolated. It is part of a devastating global pattern of femicide, the targeted killing of women and girls by men who sought to control them, silence them, or eliminate the consequences of their own predatory behavior. That framing takes this beyond just one situation and connects it to a much bigger issue being discussed worldwide. Then it gets even heavier, pointing directly at the accusations. Prosecutors allege David abused Les for over a year, beginning when she was 13, then killed her specifically to protect his career. That is, femicide. The language is direct and meant to make an impact. It continues, that is what it looks like when a girl's life is treated as a threat to be neutralized. She was a child, and she deserved protection from the very industry that gave this artist a platform, a label deal, and a global visibility. And the final point hits at the industry itself. The music industry has a responsibility that goes beyond commerce. When an artist has been charged with the abuse and murder of a minor, continuing to stream, promote, and profit from his catalog is a choice. It is not a neutral one. That message is aimed straight at the platforms and executives who still have control over what stays up and what gets removed. I hear the frustration loud and clear in this take, and a lot of people are echoing that same energy right now. For some, moves like demonetizing content don't feel like enough. They see it as a half step instead of real action. The argument being pushed is simple. If the content is still up, it's still being discovered, and that visibility keeps the situation alive in a way that benefits the artist. Because that's how the algorithm works. When people rush to watch, search, and analyze content, it doesn't matter why they're clicking the system, just sees engagement and pushes it even further. That means more eyes, more reach, and potentially new listeners who didn't even know about him before. And critics are pointing out that even if it's a small percentage, there's always a risk that some viewers might become supporters through that exposure, which is exactly what they don't want to see happen. That's why the calls to remove everything completely are getting louder. The idea is to cut off not just the money, but the visibility too. No uploads, No recommendations, no algorithm boost, just gone. Supporters of this push believe that anything less leaves room for continued influence, and they're not willing to accept that. The petition backs that up with a direct message. It says streaming platforms already have rules, policies, and the power to act, so now is the time to actually use it. They're calling for David's music to be removed across all platforms while the legal process plays out. And groups like Industry Blackout are stepping in, saying this is about accountability and setting a clear standard across the industry. They're also tying this back to concerns people raised about past visuals and casting choices in his videos, saying those details make the situation even more disturbing in their eyes. All of it combined is why this movement is pushing so hard for a full removal, not just limited restrictions. A lot of people are now going back through those music videos and pointing out patterns that feel unsettling to them. They're saying many of the songs seem to reference Celeste, and what really stands out is the timing dropping tracks on her birthday, year after year, especially love songs, is being looked at in a completely different light now. That detail alone has people questioning everything, and it's adding even more intensity to the conversation. There's also growing frustration toward the industry for what critics believe was ignored earlier. Allegations had already been circulating, including claims from someone in David's Discord back in 2024 who said they had evidence and spoke out, even while facing legal threats. People are now asking if those warnings were out there, why weren't stronger actions taken sooner? That's where the accusations of turning a blind eye are coming from, and it's why current moves are being called too late by some voices. Now that the arrest has happened, actions like removing content are being viewed by critics as reactive instead of proactive. The big question being raised is why those same steps weren't taken when earlier claims and evidence first surfaced. That gap in response is what's fueling a lot of the anger right now. Then there's the situation with Jason Tween, which adds another layer. At first, he publicly suggested David might be innocent when the case first broke. But after more information came out, he reversed course and said, "Bruh," after the new evidence. Obviously, David is guilty. So he did come back and correct himself based on what was revealed. Even with that, he's still facing heavy backlash. Some people aren't letting go of his initial reaction, and now it's escalating to the point where he's threatening legal action against a Twitter page that accused him of being directly involved in the situation, which he denies. That whole fake crying moment really didn't help his case at all. A lot of people saw it as turning something serious into a performance, and that didn't sit right. From what's being said, the emotion didn't even seem tied to Celeste, but more about him claiming emotional distress while talking about taking legal action. That kind of reaction just rubbed people the wrong way, especially with how heavy this situation is. And that's the bigger issue. People don't want to see anything that feels like it's making light of something this serious. When the topic is this intense, any move that looks staged or exaggerated is going to get called out fast. And that's exactly what happened here. Then things get even more complicated when it comes to David's family. One of the loudest reactions came from his own brother, who posted a message that many people saw as a clear shot at him, basically calling for the harshest punishment possible. But here's why that raised eyebrows. This same brother was previously seen in a backstage video with Celeste at one of David's concerts. So now people are connecting those dots and asking tough questions. If he was around them back then, did he know what was going on? Did he understand the situation at the time? Those are the kinds of conversations happening, even though there's no clear public answer. Because of that, some critics are looking at his recent post and calling it performative too. Like it's more about distancing himself now that the backlash is intense, rather than speaking up earlier. And that's where the too late criticism is coming from. At the same time, others point out that being related to someone doesn't automatically make you responsible for their actions. If a family member does something terrible, that doesn't mean everyone around them knew or supported it. But once there's past footage and connections, people are going to question everything, and that's exactly what's happening here. And now the conversation is shifting again, because more people are starting to look at the fan base and how they're reacting to all of this. Some supporters are still trying to defend David online, and that's sparking even more outrage. You've got people digging through comments, calling out anyone who downplays the situation, and pushing back hard against narratives that try to soften what's being alleged. At the same time, there are others saying things are getting out of control on the internet. They're warning that accusations and emotions are spreading faster than verified facts, and that can lead to people getting dragged into the situation who might not actually be involved. That tension is building, because now it's not just about David anymore. It's about how everyone connected, even loosely, is being treated online. There's also a bigger spotlight being placed on accountability across the entire industry. Not just the artist, but the teams, the executives, the platforms, and even collaborators. People are asking who knew what, who stayed quiet, and who benefited while everything was happening behind the scenes. That pressure is expanding fast, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. Meanwhile, every new update in the case is being watched closely, picked apart, and debated across social media like it's breaking news every hour. And with that kind of attention, the stakes keep getting higher for everyone involved. Because right now, this isn't just a story anymore, it's turning into a full-blown reckoning in the public eye. But this is where people really start pressing the issue hard. If you were physically there, backstage, seen in photos with both David and Celeste, then the questions aren't going away anytime soon. People are going to ask, why didn't you speak up? Why didn't you alert anyone if something felt off? That's the part that keeps coming back up, and it's not something you can easily brush aside. And that excuse of, we thought she was 19, a lot of people are not accepting that at all. They're pointing to photos from that time and saying it just doesn't line up. In their eyes, that explanation doesn't hold weight, and it's only adding more frustration to the situation. So now, the spotlight is fully on his response. Some people are asking, does he deserve any credit for speaking out now? Or does it come off as way too late, especially if he was around and had chances to say something earlier? That's the debate happening everywhere right now, and it's split down the middle, because on one hand, speaking out matters, but on the other hand, timing matters too, and that's what people are stuck on. If you had proximity, if you were present, if there's proof you were around, then staying silent back then is what people are focusing on the most. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think his response means anything? Or does it feel like too little, too late? Make sure you like, subscribe, share this video, and join the conversation below.